Inside a bunker, a bloody Chloe, Oleg, and another man run for their lives while an AI voice announces that lockdown will begin in 60 seconds. Suddenly Oleg stops and shoots the other man down before he tries shooting Chloe too, but he only hits her leg. Then Oleg leaves the bunker and the door closes before Chloe can follow. Hearing a growl nearby, Chloe begins making her way back through the tunnel and manages to slide under the shutter just in time. However, the other man gets stuck and grabs Chloe's legs, begging her not to leave him. At that moment a monster appears on the other side and drags the man away, allowing the shutter to fully close. Afterward, Chloe finds a computer and sends out a distress message. She explains the facility is under attack, that it's been put into lockdown for 24 hours, and that she's the only survivor. If anyone wants Adam and the research, then they must rescue her. Next, Chloe cleans her wound and removes the bullet. She also washes up and gets some new clothes from the lockers. Hearing the growling again, she decides to hide behind some furniture. The monster comes closer and reaches out, but it sees her face and it doesn't attack. Meanwhile, mercenary James gets a video call from his pregnant wife, who gets annoyed when she sees him in gear since he was supposed to come home. James explains he's accepted a special ops mission and promises this will be the last one for a while since it pays well enough for a good house. Afterward, James and his best friend Marshall get on a plane with Marshall's ex and fellow mercenary Rachel. During the trip, Rachel explains the details. They must enter a bioresearch lab in Bovania to rescue Chloe without being detected. Oleg's team has already tried to enter the bunker and that has resulted in 12 civilian casualties. Now those soldiers are in the area trying to find another entrance. The mercenaries also have teams on the ground who have already found 2 escape tunnels, so Rachel will join Team Alpha to enter the facility while James and Marshall must join Bravo to offer cover. A helicopter will later pick them up. Once they arrive to the forest, James and Marshall see one of Oleg's men searching for a hatch with a metal detector. When the guy sees them too, he immediately runs away, so a chase ensues. The man tries hiding behind a tree, however the rest of Team Bravo quickly finds him. The team wants to kill him, however James chooses to tie him to a tree instead. The prisoner keeps repeating that the Nephilim are coming, but James thinks it's nonsense. Bravo leaves while leaving the guy at the tree. Meanwhile, Team Alpha use a small explosive to make a hole and enter the bunker. They find a man getting hurt on the wall, and when he turns around, he reveals a face in the process of mutating. Suddenly the man charges toward them and the team opens fire, but this isn't enough to stop him and he sends a mercenary flying. In the forest, Team Bravo discovers their prisoner has escaped. Then a bomb explodes near them, so they run for cover and shoot back as Oleg's men open fire on them. One of the team members immediately gets killed and another one is severely wounded. Bombs keep going off in the area and Marshall is knocked down, but he quickly recovers and continues to fire, only to get stuck behind a tree. James is also knocked down by a bomb, so he drags his body on the ground to recover his weapon. Then he runs among the trees to kill the last few enemies to save Marshall. He also encounters the prisoner from earlier, and this time he doesn't hesitate to shoot him in the head. Afterward, James and Marshall help their wounded teammate, but they hear more enemies coming, so they hide him after bandaging his wound. Then they take cover and notice Oleg's men finding their other teammate, who wasn't actually dead and gets repeatedly shot by the enemy. Then Oleg's group brings a dog to search for them, so Marshall has no choice but to shoot the handler. Another gunfight begins and the duo kills as many men as possible while running through the forest. Soon they're running out of bullets and more explosives go off nearby, so their only choice is to jump off the cliff and into the water. The strong current pushes the duo for a while. James manages to hold onto a rock and notices a waterfall, so he worries about Marshall, who appears swimming nearby. They get back on land and sneak around to reach the meeting place, but they don't see Team Alpha around. An argument ensues because Marshall wants to wait for pickup as the plan said, but James thinks Oleg will find them soon. At that moment, barking can be heard in the distance, so Marshall agrees to hide in a cave. The duo has to crawl through narrow tunnels until they reach an open area, where they're excited to find a hatch under some rocks. They immediately move them away and enter the bunker. At the same time, Oleg and Jonah find the injured mercenary and beat him up as they ask where the entrance to the bunker is. Suddenly a body bag starts moving and Oleg shoots it down before making the mercenary open it. Inside there's a monster, which Oleg lights on fire while explaining that this is the reason why they can't let anyone enter the lab. In the bunker, James and Marshall wander around and find blood everywhere but no bodies. There are a few guns and bullets on the ground that they pick up before they keep on searching. In another room, they find a bunch of photographs showing Chloe and a monster in the snow. After taking pictures with his phone, James plays a recording from a scientist explaining they retrieved the body of Sabachthon from a glacier. Then they used the monster's blood on humans, but it acted as a parasite and attacked people's DNA. Some of the scientists thought the monster was something out of the Bible that they shouldn't have awakened. Marshall doesn't get it, so James tells him about the fallen angels that abused human women, which resulted in the birth of very strong monsters known as Nephilim. Those monsters waged war on men and humanity almost went extinct, but then Noah built the ark to save them and the flood supposedly killed all the Nephilim. At that moment they hear some growling and James goes to investigate. When he feels a presence behind him, he follows it down the hall and enters another room. After hearing more weird noises coming from the vent, James sees Chloe behind the furniture and talks to her. She warns him that the monsters are attracted to sound, but it's too late. A monster appears above them and throws James on the ground, causing him to drop his gun. Then the monster lands on top of James and repeats his words with a growling voice. Before it can attack, Chloe appears behind it and hits it with an axe. As the monster turns toward her, Marshall shows up and opens fire. The bullets don't hurt it, and the monster escapes through the vent. Lots of growling can be heard in the vents, and Chloe tells the duo they need to leave before the monster comes after them again. The trio rushes back to the entrance, but they freeze when they discover Oleg's group has arrived. They try going back through the same corridor, only to see the monster blocking the way. As the beast comes closer, Chloe notices another vent and the trio immediately jumps inside. They crawl as fast as possible while Chloe sees the monster below them. The group freezes to avoid making noise, however Marshall accidentally plays the recorder. He quickly turns it off, but the monster has already heard them and reaches inside the vent, grabbing James' foot. Chloe and Marshall keep going until they reach a room while James shoots the monster to make it let go. Afterward, James joins the others in the room, where Chloe is vomiting. The guys demand an explanation, so Chloe tells them that the scientists used the blood from Subject N to create a genetic hybrid named Adam, who was part human part monster. Then James says they should leave through the other entrance, however Chloe points out that's the area where Adam started it all. Over 20 employees got infected and became the monsters that they're fighting now. James remembers that the map shows a third tunnel, so they need to find it to escape. After Chloe throws up again, the trio leaves the room. They sneak around and find another vent, so while James works on opening it, Chloe continues to explain. Adam was the first successful hybrid created 30 years ago from an embryo, and he was brought here for containment, but he became unstable because of the experimentation done on him and he snapped. James finally opens the vent, but before they can leave, they're found by one of Oleg's men. The group tells him to keep his voice down, yet the man doesn't listen, so his voice soon attracts a monster that easily kills him in seconds. The trio uses the chance to get into the vent and crawl away. Chloe tells the guys that Oleg was the lab's guard, but he still killed Adam. Now Oleg wants to weaponize Adam's research, which is in her hands. Eventually the trio comes out of the vent and follows the pipes into an engine room. They cross a very narrow door, and while searching for the next hatch, James' watch beeps announcing that lockdown is over. The trio crosses another door that they lock behind them and follow a corridor until they find Rachel, who is severely wounded. On the security cameras, Chloe notices the enemy is coming. Marshall tries to bring Rachel with them, but Chloe points out she's infected, which has no cure. When Marshall refuses to leave her behind, Chloe tells him where to find the medical ward to get a stretcher. While Marshall goes to the medical ward and James searches for the next hatch, Chloe uses the chance to shoot Rachel in the head. The guys come back when they hear the shot, and Marshall gets furious, ignoring Chloe when she says she saved Rachel from suffering as a monster. Marshall yells at Chloe and threatens to kill her, but James stops him. All this noise gets the attention of the monster that soon appears at the door, so Marshall and James start shooting at it to no avail. Once they run out of bullets, the group runs away and accidentally splits while the monster chases after them. James and Chloe hide in a medical ward, where a body immediately starts moving and roars. Chloe covers his face with a pillow and James hands her his knife so she can stab him to death. Meanwhile, Marshall makes it to the morgue and decides to hide inside a freezer next to a body. At that moment, James contacts him and Marshall hears how a monster is trying to get into the medical bay. James and Chloe do their best to hold the door closed while Marshall tries to leave to help them. However, he discovers the freezer door can't be opened from inside. Suddenly the body wakes up and bites Marshall in the arm before he uses his knife to repeatedly stab him in the head to kill him again. Marshall thinks it's over only for Jonah to pull him out and hit him with his weapon. At the same time, James and Chloe manage to close the door and the monster goes away, however they also hear the voices of Oleg's men coming closer. James throws the recorder into the corridor and two men are distracted by it, so James uses the chance to attack. He immediately brings a guy down, but the other one is bigger and overpowers him. Thankfully, Chloe comes out and uses a knife to fight the big man, showing shockingly good skill to stab him in key spots until he's dead. Afterward, James wants to go looking for Marshall, but Chloe stops him. She points out that if Oleg gets the research, he'll turn it into a weapon and kill them all. James has no choice but to escort Chloe out first. In the morgue, Marshall is restrained to a table while Jonah describes how the infection will kill him to transform him into a Nephilim. He keeps asking where Adam is and Marshall says he doesn't know before he suddenly gets a vision. He sees Adam killing the scientists and chasing Oleg out before recording the message. This means that Chloe is actually Adam and Oleg has been fighting to stop her. Back to James and Chloe, they make it to Adam's room and find the body of the Alpha team leader, which makes Chloe feel sick. James tries to contact Marshall, who is about to be stabbed by Jonah. At that moment, a monster bursts into the morgue and Jonah turns to shoot it, but the monster grabs him and throws him around before tossing him on top of Marshall to kill him. Once Jonah is dead, the monster takes a closer look at Marshall, but since he's infected, the beast spares him and leaves. Marshall then uses his knife to free himself. In Adam's room, James gives Chloe the dead man's phone and tells her to leave through the tunnel the Alpha team used. Once she's outside, She can use the phone to call the helicopter. James gets ready to leave to help Marshall, but freezes when he sees a crib in the corner. He realizes Chloe has been puking because she's pregnant and demands to know the real story. Chloe admits she's Adam, explaining she snapped after being locked up for 30 years. She refused to raise her baby in captivity, so she killed her captors to finally have freedom. James understands wanting to save the child, but Chloe's blood is too dangerous, so he doesn't want to let her leave. Suddenly a monster enters the room and Chloe just watches how James is easily beaten up. At that moment Marshall arrives and threatens to shoot Chloe, so the monster drops James. Chloe runs away and turns off the lights while Marshall opens fire, only to be knocked down by the monster. James finds a flamethrower left by the soldiers and uses it to burn the monster until it's dead. Meanwhile Chloe makes it outside and finds Oleg waiting for her with his gun out. Chloe apologizes for her actions and comes closer to hug him, but Oleg doesn't forgive her. A desperate Chloe steals his knife and stabs him, only for Oleg to grab it back and quickly stab her in return. As both of them fall to the ground, James and Marshall leave the bunker as well. They check on Chloe and she suddenly attacks, stabbing James before fighting Marshall. Chloe's monster strength allows her to easily bring Marshall down, and when James tries to fight her too, he's immediately defeated the same way. Neither guy gives up and tries fighting Chloe again, however it's easy for her to quickly bring them down one after the other. Then she tries grabbing a fallen gun, so James surprises her from behind by putting rope around her neck. Chloe struggles in his hold and manages to poke James out to distract him, then she punches him to knock him down. Next she tries stabbing him, but James painfully catches the knife with his hand. As Marshall starts to transform, he uses this strength to pull the rope before jumping into the hatch, dragging Chloe on the ground until the choking kills her. Afterward James goes down the hatch to save his friend, however Marshall reminds him he's infected and tells him to leave without him. After a final goodbye, James leaves the bunker and lies down on the ground to use the phone. He passes out before he can hear his wife's voice. Later that night, a rescue team arrives at the forest and find James, who is already transformed, and immediately attacks them. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.